Hey guys, welcome back. Still talking about branches of government, and specifically we're looking at the executive branch. So Office of the President. Okay. The executive branch. Members include the President, advisors, and all federal agencies. The Office of the President was created by Article 2 of the Constitution. Main roles and powers. Enforce laws passed by Congress. Act as head of the federal government and all federal agencies. Nominates judges. Okay, so here we see an example of our system of checks and balances. The president gets to nominate the judges, but as we talked about in the legislative branch, they must have Senate approval. So they go through something called a confirmation hearing. And appoints government officials. Some require Senate approval, some do not. Generally speaking, those bigger ones, cabinet members would be ones that will require Senate approval. Press secretary would be one that would not. Duties as chief diplomat, meaning the president is essentially the face of the country. So that's what diplomat means. So he represents the U.S. to foreign governments, makes treaties with foreign nations. Here again, though, we have an example of our checks and balance system. Any treaty that the president would enter into representing the United States, it would require a two-thirds vote. So 2/3 of the Senate would have to vote for approval to accept the treaty. Here we just see an example, President Kennedy signing some documents into law. Duties as chief legislature. He proposes a federal budget. So he just brings forth stating, hey guys, this is what I think the budget should be for the year. That is something, though, again, part of the checks and balance system. Anything that has to do with money needs to be approved by the House of Representatives. Remember, the House of Representatives controls the money within the nation. He can propose laws to Congress. He can also veto legislation. So here we have a check on the legislative branch by the president. Congress might put forth a law, it might get passed in both houses of Congress, but then the president can say, no, I don't think this is a good law, I'm going to veto it. Duties as commander-in-chief then. He commands all branches of the military. He is like the top general for all service branches of the military. He can use the military for up to 60 days without permission of Congress or declaring war. This is one of those, an example of this would be during the Vietnam War. The United States never officially declared war in Vietnam. What it was a series of essentially 60-day permissions by the president to send troops over there. You don't see this anymore, but here, this picture shows George Washington as president. This has to do with Shays Rebellion, or excuse me, the Whiskey Rebellion, which is something we'll touch on in class. Special powers and responsibilities of the Office of the President. He can grant pardons, meaning forgiving an individual of their crimes, and he can also grant amnesty, which would be forgiving a group of people a specific class of crime. Terms of service for the president. He can serve a maximum of 2 terms of 4 years or 8 years total. So if something were to happen to our current president, he has essentially 3 years left in his term. The vice president could come in, would step in then, finish out those 3 years, and then he could be reelected for another term. That would put him at 7, and he essentially would be done then. He wouldn't get reelected to serve just a 1-year term. Must be 35 years old. a natural born citizen, and a 14-year resident of the United States, meaning he or she would have to have lived in the United States for at least 14 years. And this is just for fun. I'll let you think about that, and we can discuss in class. Thanks for joining me.